fuck up the whole country until we have what we want.
What the fuck? Is there any real force in that?
It's not about making people miserable, except for those in power. Let's go.
Ok, je suis pas du tout à l'aise.
Moi non plus. Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do this series where I'm talking to French people and asking them some cultural aspect of their life. Today, please welcome on my channel a friend of mine, Jerome. Tell us something about yourself.
I'm French.
Okay.
I was born in France and I live in France. Yeah.
Are you proud to be French?
Sometimes, yeah.
So today we decided to discuss a really interesting topic because I'm coming from a country where there is none of this thing as protests, and Jerome is from a country where there's a lot of protests, and we would love to speak about it. I would ask many questions from a point of view of someone that don't understand anything in politics, that is just, you know, citizen. I'm just living here, I'm seeing all of those things on the streets and I'm like shocked and I don't understand what's going on, and I would like to ask many things about it. Anatole France once said, when I wake up in 100 years, the first question I will ask is, are they still on strike in France? Do you think it's something cultural?
Yeah, it's definitely something cultural. When we protest, there's this usual reference to the revolution in the 18th century, where we cut off Louis XVI's head. The French anthem, La Marseillaise, is a chant that was made during this time, during the revolution. Being together and marching against the enemies.
Actually, to be honest with you, like my first shock when I came here was that you can come late to your job and say, I'm sorry, that's not my fault, that's a metro strike, and it's fine, and it's a reason, legal reason you can be late to your work. Like, what the fuck?
Even the metro provides a proof that you are late because of the metro.
Like a written one?
Yeah, a written one. If you ask, because usually people don't do it, you just tell, yeah, it was a strike. But you can ask for, you can do it in the train, you can do it in the metro, because yeah, it's something that is we are used to. Everyone understands, like, if you are late because of strike, it's okay.
Strike is someone who chooses to be on strike,
yeah,
to make other people's life less good.
It's not about making people miserable, except for those in power. Basically, when there is a strike of the metro, is because politics don't take the metro. So how could the people in charge of the metro be annoying and make themselves heard to the politicians? Well, if you stop the metro and every one of their employees come late, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's impacting me financially. So there's a strategy behind this. Yeah, I agree with that, even if it pisses me off. So,
because I'm sure none of my followers know what's happening now in France, can you tell us more about the strike that is happening right now? This is live, actually.
So basically, you have the retired people, and over time you have more and more retired people, and less working people because of the baby boom that happened in the 1940 until the 1960. And because of that, you have more retired people that are enjoying their retirement, and you pay money for them. And the working people, there's less of them compared to the number of retired people. So mathematically, it does not work out, and you have more to pay rather than more to gain in this calculus.
The government fucked up. There's a problem. Okay. Is there any other way to do it? Why does they influence people and not like their budget? You can maybe use economies in one field and like put money in this field.
That was the main question. Is there another way to make this rebalance of money? There was three main solutions. The first one was to to put 2 more years of working time, which people don't like. You could give less money to the people that are already retired, basically, if you give less money, a bit less of each one, you gain some money at the end. Or you could increase the cotisation from the workers. In France, we have something that we call the 49.3. So it's in the law, it's an article of law that is the number 49, alinéa 3. That's why we give it this name. That says le Premier ministre peut, après délibération du Conseil des ministres, engager la responsabilité du gouvernement devant l'Assemblée nationale sur le vote d'un projet de loi de finances ou de financement de la sécurité sociale. Dans ce cas, ce projet est considéré comme adopté, sauf si une motion de censure déposée dans les 24 heures qui suivent est votée dans les conditions prévues à l'alinéa précédent. Le Premier ministre peut en outre recourir à cette procédure pour un autre projet ou une autre proposition de loi par session. This article of law can bypass the government and the Senate. Basically, when you propose a law, it's debated at the National Assembly, and where you have people from different political parties, so from far left to far right, and you need the majority to vote on each law that you pass. But if you use the 49.3, you can bypass this and pass the law, and it's going to continue the democratic way. And for this 49.3 to be used, you cannot use it as much as you want, except if your law is a financial law. What the government of Macron did is that they did this pension reform to be a financial law, so they could use the 49.3 as much as they wanted, and they used it a lot. And at the end, there was a vote from the whole National Assembly to be held to validate or not the law. As they realized, we won't have enough votes to pass our law. So even though they told that they would accept the vote, they used the 49.3 to pass the law at the end, and bye-bye.
I see what's happening, but in Russia, if there's something like this happen, it's not like it's your business. I mean, you're not a politician, you're not there, you have no influence. So why are you going like on streets in France? Is there any real force in that? Can you influence government?
That's the real question right now. It's known to happen sometimes in France that if you protest enough, something can be pulled back, and can be. I think Chirac did this once, former president, on one of the law, and people were not happy with it. They protested enough, and at the end, it was I don't remember the law, but it was not applied. And so for this reform, you have the fact that the retirement age is going to be 2 more years, so people are not happy about it. You have the government that is bypassing the National Assembly legally, but doing it in a way that is really not really good. And people see that, they feel like they are being used. And it's something that French people don't like, is to work more and to feel despised by the government. And when they are despised enough, it started the revolution. It started May 68, which was a huge process as well, and other protests, because they felt like they were despised by the government. But in France, it's more a culture of we are the people and we are in the democracy, and the government is working for us. They are not governing us like puppets, they are working for us, and we try to keep it this way, to not be manipulated.
From 100 strikes, how many strikes would be actually seen by government?
That's a good question, because there's more and more strikes, especially with what we had with the Gilets jaunes recently. We feel like the government don't care less and less about the strikes, and that's why here it's a huge point, it's a huge arm wrestling to see how big can this get until the government acknowledge it?
So do you think French people hate the government?
Yeah, I think they don't hate the government, but there is not. We are a pretty divided country, and in terms of political party, and there's a lot of them. And Macron on both time was elected, but with a relative majority. There was a lot of candidates that got a lot of traction, and Macron got the best of it. And then on the second turn, it was mainly because it was against Marine Le Pen on the far right. So people voted Macron because they hate Marine Le Pen more. It's basically a vote of who do we hate less. And that's why people feel like, yeah, the democracy is a bit not bien.
That's so interesting because I'm coming from a country where there's no democracy. So how this video started is when we were talking between friends, and they were always talking about, are you coming to the strike? Are you coming today? Let's go together. And I was like, what? Like, I just cannot understand. It's something that wasn't existent in my world. Like, you can go outside and say what you think. Like, are you going to strikes? How do you feel about it? How do you feel when you're striking?
So there's a difference between strikes, which are when you don't want to work just to show that you are protesting, and the protest, the manifestations that you can see on the street, where people are coming and chanting, etc., and showing that they don't like what's happening right now. For me, I haven't done a strike because on my personal job it would not matter if I was at a job that's impacting people's lives. I would do a strike because it would give some impact to
you would
to society.
If you had a job that impact, you would
possibly on this special law, yes.
How is it going? Like, for example, like you're working in the metro and you want to do a strike. Should you say in advance that you are not going to work? Because as far as I'm living here, I always have this news like tomorrow it's a strike day.
Yeah.
So that means it's not something like today I don't want to go to work because I'm striking, but it's something like, okay, next week, this day, all of us were striking and we're telling that to our bosses and they were telling that to government.
So on a personal level, you have to tell your management that you are going on strike, I think 24 to 48 hours before you are going on strike, so not working.
Okay.
And it's without pay, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But on a personal level, it's this kind of delay. You have to warn your employer. But of course, you know, you have huge movement and people are saying, okay, so this day we are all going on strike, prepare yourself, and people have until the day before to say, I'm on strike today or I'm not on strike today. So that's why they cannot plan in advance who is going to go on strike, since they can decide at the last moment. I mean, if you have somebody that really wants to go on strike to show that it's not agreed but needs the money, of course he's going to continue to work, and that's why we have some cotisation for the strike for people that are not working, but so they could have a little bit more money and to continue the movement.
Let's talk about protests. So were you going to protest?
Yeah, I've been to protest for this reform.
When you were there, were you actually feeling that you can change something?
Yes, because the more you go there, the more people you are, the more it's going to make the news, because you have more people, and when you see a huge crowd of people protesting for the same thing, it has an impact. So every person, even if you are standing on the side but here and just being present, one more people is always enough to make things change. That we have the mindset of together we are strong.
Oh, that's beautiful. Just telling to my Russian subscribers that in France, if you want to go to a protest and you want to go there and your working hours, you have the right? You can just ask to not to work this day because of the protest that you're going there.
Yeah, you have the right to go to strike because you don't
Protest, not
protest.
strike.
Ah, yeah, to go to
But
protest.
there's no protest in Russia.
There's no protest.
No.
It's not.
You don't have right to do protest. You don't have right to not work.
But what happens if there is one? There must have been some protests sometimes.
Yeah, you go to prison.
Okay.
There is no protest. No. The funniest thing I'm always talking about is that, you know, sometimes people are just trying to go out there with blank paper and they're going to Red Square, just one person,
I think I saw this video. Yeah.
and then police is there
Okay.
directly. Like, you're not going to prison all your life, but I don't know, for one day, so you understand you're doing something wrong. They always find a reason they can take you to the prison, and so you never feel safe. Actually, if you're there, maybe you'll have some problems on your work, or I don't know, but like, the police is your enemy in Russia.
Yeah. I think what you need is to protest more, so you can bypass the law.
That's interesting, but
that's the mentality that we have. Is if you feel like you don't have enough liberty, that's because you didn't protested enough.
That's really interesting. I think maybe you're right, but I think it's due to our history. I'm not really good at history, but we are oppressed. We have this USSR mindset. And when I came to France, the first thing French people asked me was, "What do you think about Putin?" And my answer was, "Do I have a right to think something?" I was thinking nothing, because it's not my business, because I don't have influence on that. I like think about it more and more now. But I think since the only person that were doing the protests is in prison for all his life, that scared a lot of us.
Yeah.
Actually, everyone just afraid for his own life.
Yeah, of course, it's complicated when you are in a cultural oppression.
Right.
Basically, it's hard to go out of this mindset. And
Right.
if it's bound to happen in Russia, it's going to take some time, even today. But I think the democratization of internet and social networks, even if they are maybe regulated in Russia as they can be in China, etc. Less. But yes, democratization of the social networks, etc., allows for more communication and for more of mixity in the mindset of people.
Let's say we don't have an oppressed mind, we have an oppressed rights. We don't have rights, actually, but everyone does understand what's happening. So yeah, even if all of us would go there, we don't have the same government. And like, the saddest thing is that the only time that there was actually someone who was like, go there, vote for anyone so your vote won't be stolen, but not Putin, so we would see our impact. That didn't work, actually. No one cares, and
I remember that I actually saw the video that he posted on YouTube.
Oh, you know the
yeah, the documentary about the palace, etc.
Oh, you know the documentary about palace? They show your protests everywhere, worldwide, on a TV. But I think they do show it because there's many bad things happening. They're breaking like monuments, cars. There's so many trash going on, and I feel like seeing that, I feel not safe, and I don't want to go to protest because I'm afraid. Like, I just have this feeling that these people are just waiting for a protest just because they want to break things.
Well, you and me working in video medium, being editors, you can understand that a picture is worth more than 100 words. That's also a way, on one side, to be seen. We are not accepting things, and if you just show people showing some messages on boards, yeah, we've all seen that. But if you start to break things and to make spectacular images, on one side you are going to be more captivate more people attention, so that's a way also to be more present in the media. And on the other side, you have the French media that wants the protest to stop a little bit. They are I'm not going to say that they are manipulated by the government, but they are asked to turn the situation to show that the protest can be a scary thing, to dissuade some people to come because it can be really spooky. And as you said, you don't feel safe to go to a protest because you feel like it's going to be all hell and burning everywhere, etc. And that's what I thought too. Honestly, I've been to protests for a whole afternoon. It was just like you were in a music festival with people chanting, dancing, everybody chanting, we don't want the law from Macron, etc. But it's all happy for a full afternoon. It was really great. And even I've been with some people that were really anxious about being in a huge crowd and fearing that it would break things, etc., and would be violent. And they were really pleasantly surprised, and they came back afterward to other protests because it's a protest is really happy. The mood actually is happy because you need to motivate people to be here for 5 hours, and at the end you start to have some tension because of course everybody is an individual. Everybody comes to a protest for their own personal reasons. On my side, I was not for the retirement age to move, but I didn't go to the protest until there was the history with the 49-3, because I felt like democracy was taken away from us as a people, and I was like, okay, so now that's enough for me. I'm going to go to a protest to show that I don't agree with that. So people come because they just like to go to protest. Since it's a cultural thing, it's like, oh, there's a new protest, I'm going to go. It can be some people like that, and you have some people like what we call the black blocs. It's a group of people that
You're saying black blocs?
Yeah, black blocs, exactly.
Okay.
And it's well, we can resume it as people that come here to break things, but in the mentality is, as I said before, it's not going to change until you start breaking things. That's why they are breaking things, as some are violent and breaking, putting fire on the trash bin and making huge pictures that you can see, and you're like, oh, okay, so they are really not happy at all. And of course, you have some people that come here to, I don't think it's the majority, but some people that come here because they just want to break stuff, and there's a good reason to break stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this mix of all the people. Since you have more people, you have more different mindsets. And at the end of the day, with the exhaustion, etc., and people that are here for different reasons, yeah, at the end of the day, the protests start to get violent, especially because you have the legality of the protest. So you are allowed to protest until a certain point in time. They are not going to, the police are not going to put you away at the exact time. They are going to let the protests dissipate over time. But after some points, they are becoming more and more violent, especially if you have some trash fire here, you have some people that are breaking stuff there, and they want some order, and yeah, that's when it becomes violent, and they start to throw tear gas, etc., etc.
The person that are breaking things, do we agree that they break some personal properties, like cars of other people, or like magazines and shops? Like,
yeah, exactly.
They just doing some bad things for other people, not for the government. Like, what's behind it? Why to do that? Why not just to break bins? Bins is government's thing.
Yeah, I think it's just a way to show that they don't agree, and they don't know who owns this car, and yeah, it's the crowd. The crowd is usually, you have some people that start breaking a car, and others are going to follow, and it's the exhilaration of also being in a crowd, and you don't have the the consequences of your action if you are not recognized. They are here because they are protesting against the government, and they see a car, let's fire it, and just a way to show I'm not happy. And it's not this intelligent, of course, and it's not something that personally I'm going to do, of course. But yeah, it's recently they started to try to think more about the symbol, and they started to during a protest to go inside the HQ of BlackRock. That's a company that owns buildings, especially in United States, but in France too. I think this week they've been to LVMH, and it's a company that is owned by the richest man in the world, which is French. It's his name is, and we are going to write it on the bottom, Bernard Arnault. Yeah. But yeah, it's they started to go in places to show pictures that are impressive, people inside an HQ, and to think it more as the message that is sent behind this. But of course, you cannot control everybody. You have some stupid people, and yeah, you are going to. The more people you have, the more broken stuff you are going to have.
Yeah, there are protests, but it's not that big. It's not every street. There are some hours, there are places, and it's so you're saying it's not that angry that we can see it, but from other countries they cannot really know. They only see these bad things. But this is a good thing, so that put some pressure on the government in France. They're saying like, France, something is wrong in your country.
Exactly. No, exactly. It contributes to that, to make huge impact on the mentality of people. And it's a double-edged sword. On one side, as I said, it can dissuade people from coming, but on the other side, it makes a huge, you see the picture, you have this feel of there's anger in the street, you have fire, there's anger in the street, and it gives this message. So it contributes to this message. Of course, the poor man with the car that is burned is not going to be happy. But the message is here. You can see the picture with all the trash bin because of the strike of the people collecting the trash.
Yeah, right. Tell me more about that. I mean, I'm not happy about that. It's your job to take trash. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't want to suffer. Yeah, there are rats that are coming when you have too much trash on the streets.
If you want everyone to protest, and the people collecting trash bin are being impacted a lot by this reform, I don't remember the details, but they are impacted a lot. Of course, what are you going to do? You don't collect trash, and you see the trash accumulates, and it makes for good pictures. And you say, right. Oh yeah, Paris, city of romance. Let's see about it, and you let the trash collect, and not collect, of course, but.
Yeah, but do you think it really influences government? Oh, yeah. Or I feel like it influences more people than government.
I think it's one of the things that is influencing a lot more.
You think?
Yeah, because it's really visual.
I heard that in the end they just pay some private companies to do so.
Yeah, and the private companies started to strike as well now.
What the fuck? Don't they want some money?
Well, they want some money, but they also want to retire at the
okay.
CC2.
Okay, I see.
So that's why it's at first, yes, they were contracting private companies, and it was working well. But sometimes, this private company would go through some protests, and some protesters would block the truck, like, no, don't pass, because they knew.
Oh.
If you are not protesting, of course it's going to be annoying, but if you agree with the message, you're like, yeah, let's go, let's fuck up the whole country until we have what we want. That's the plan, basically. We don't care about how it's going to impact our day-to-day, because if we don't do it now, at the end it's going to break the life of so many people. So let's fuck up, that's not my message, but that's the idea behind this, is let's fuck up the country the worst way possible, as much as we can, so we can have what we want.
That's actually inspiring. I don't know, I felt
that. No, even myself, it's really inspiring to live in a country that think like this, and to have this culture of protest and strike.
Okay, so that would be it. I think that's a complicated thing to talk about. Not many people stayed till the end, but I still think it's very important to see that point of culture of French people, because that's a big part of their culture. And I'm really happy that Jerome was here to talk to me about that, because I wasn't understanding what's going on the streets, and he was the lights in the tunnel there. So that's it, and stay tuned for another this type of video when French people will talk to you about their culture. И всем пока!
Всем пока. See you. Coucou maman.